Do you like eating hearty meals, and do you like eating with your hands?
If so, you might really like eating the food in Ghana.
Hi everyone, welcome to Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa. And it is already week 15, so that is 3 5-week series of this.
That's a lot of videos.
Yeah, and the coronavirus is still going on, but people have started to go back to church, and we're still going.
Yep.
We don't plan to stop anytime soon, so thank you for joining us once again. Today, one last day on the country of Ghana. And we have not looked at the food yet. And I know some of you may not want to see all the food, but I know a lot of you, especially the kids, are always interested in seeing what people in other countries eat. So we are going to look at the food in Ghana right now.
Okay, let's look at it. Oh, yum.
We're going to start with the things that we drink. And this is one of our favorites. This is it's pop, soda pop, whatever you call it. And which flavor was this one? I can't remember if it was like pear.
It might be.
I think it might be. But they have some pop there that's called malt, and it is not alcohol, it's not beer. It's
a byproduct of making it.
Yes, but it's a non-alcoholic byproduct, and they make it into a pop. And I think, for me, the best definition is the one that our friend Olivia said, is that it tastes like liquid Raisin Bran.
It's got a weird...
And when I taste it, like, yep, that's what it is. And I don't know why I didn't put a picture of it here. But the same company that makes that also, or one of the companies, also makes this pear flavored stuff, and it's also made from the byproducts,
but it's so much better.
But it's non-alcoholic, and it does. This one actually tastes good. The other one is very popular, and they like to give it to their guests. And I think if you drink it for a while, you might start to like it. But this one, you can drink it right away, and it's very tasty. And we wanted to bring some back. We got some in the airport, but it was in glass bottles, so we couldn't bring it back with us.
But we did enjoy it in the airport.
We did. A lot of it. This is a plastic bag that used to have half a liter of water in it, because I drank it out. But their drinking water there, you don't find a lot of the drinking water in water bottles. It comes in these bags. And you tear off a hole with your teeth, and then you drink it. Yep. And a lot of times we drink the whole thing all at once.
It's kind of hard to just set a bag of water down and pick it up later.
And it is possible. You can set it down nicely and it won't spill. But, you know, when you have it there, you might as well just drink the whole thing all at once.
Helps you stay hydrated that way.
So we didn't keep track, but we drank several bags of water every day. And I've never been to any other country where they bag the water.
Nope.
Only that one. So it was that, even with as much traveling as we've done, this was a totally new experience. Now for the food. This is kind of like potatoes, but a little different. It's a root.
It's a bit more fibrous.
Yes. But it has a lot of, this tastes a lot like a potato. And then these are beans here. It kind of looks like baked beans. It's kind of like that, but tastes better. And you dip this in there and scoop it out.
With your hands.
Yes. You use the potato-like things to scoop out the other things, but you use your hands. Now, they did give us forks, but that was because they knew we were American. Some of us like to try to eat it the way they do, and you just eat it with your hands. All the food we're going to show you, you can eat with your hands there.
Yep.
That's why it's in bowls. This is rice with like a tomato-based topping, and I think they put fish in there.
Like little sardines.
Yeah. They don't have a lot of chicken and other kinds of meat because I think it's pretty expensive, but the fish is cheaper. And so that's how they get a lot of their protein, at least where we were in Ghana. And So then they mix that all together and put it on the rice. And here's a picture of Alyssa eating it for the first time. And see how big that bowl is? It's a lot of food.
Yeah.
Even for Americans who like to eat a lot of food, this is a lot of food. And for them, they eat it all at once and it's normal. But they don't have snacks throughout the day like we do. They just eat meals and then they're done. So when we got this, it's a lot of rice. But it is pretty good. It wasn't my favorite. Actually, a lot of these things are not my favorites, but I liked all of them. Asian food, and I think maybe because I'm Asian, I still like a lot more. But these were good. This is rice with another tomato-based mixture, but it's mixed in.
And they cooked the rice right in it.
Yeah. And then they had some other vegetables that they mixed in there. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of like, it's not really a fried rice, but it's kind of the same idea if you want to compare it to something. This stuff, this is where they take like white corn and mush it up, and it's like slightly fermented, right? And then they make it into this ball of stuff that's also the consistency of like mashed potatoes, but a little thicker. Yep. Or the best way is probably to think of Play-Doh.
Yeah.
It feels and has that kind of a texture. And you put that, you pull some of that out of the bag. It's really hot, but you do it anyway. It's like when you drink something hot and burn your tongue, but this time you're burning your hands. You take that out and you flatten it out in your fingers, and then you use that to scoop out the mixture of vegetables.
It's kind of like a soup.
It is. It's like vegetable soup, basically. And
tomato-based.
You scoop that with the white stuff, the Play-Doh type of stuff. And you scoop that out and into your mouth. That one's really hard to eat.
Very messy.
They do it so well because they're so used to it and they're good at it, but it took us a long time to eat our meal because we can't quite figure out how to scoop soup out with our hands and eat it. But we did our best. That, also huge portions.
It's a lot, especially that white stuff that like fills you up really fast.
And when we were at the music camp for a week, we had all these meals like 3 different times, 2 to 3 different times. And if you go to camp here and you have a meal more than once, people are going to complain. And they're not going to be happy because we just had this 2 days ago. We just had this yesterday. Well, there, they have it every day, and it doesn't matter. They like it. It's simple. It does the job. We're just a little spoiled here. Now for some of our favorite foods. This is something we had on the safari. This is like fried rice. Mixed with some beef, carrots, green onions, and then there's some salad up there. This is what I got. Then Alyssa got this, which maybe I should have got this too, and we both would have had the same thing. But we wanted to try both. This is fried plantain, and that's like the bean mixture there, like baked beans. But then when you have them together...
Good combination. Really tasty.
We need to try to make that stuff. And then, one of my favorite things, and I think Alyssa really liked this, and it was Olivia's favorite from camp, this. It looks like soup. It's not quite. It's a little thicker than that. But this one, I do think people actually ate this one with a spoon.
I think
Everybody.
So.
This is not one you just eat with your fingers. That dust-looking stuff, like sawdust-looking stuff,
good.
It's like that root that they dried out and powdered. And then those purple onions, which are amazing, or red onions. And then they have some beans there in the mixture. And then I don't remember what was at the bottom. But again, there's like this tomato-based liquid there, oil. Oh, palm oil.
Lots of palm oil.
That's what really made it good. And then you just mix this all up. It's served this way, but you mix it all up, and it is fantastic. I don't even know what to compare it to, but it was good. We had it 3 times, I think.
Yep.
And it was just yummy. So that is a lot of the food in Ghana. And like I said, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my favorite, not in the sense that I didn't like things, but I have things that I like better than that, like egg rolls. But this was really good.
Still a fun experience to taste another culture's
It is.
food and see what's normal for them.
Yeah, there wasn't a time when they brought me food and like, I don't want that. It was still good. And we didn't show, they have a lot of fresh fruits there too, like mangoes and...
It was tomato season, so there were a lot of tomatoes. A lot.
But they do have some good fresh fruits and vegetables there. We just didn't show many pictures of it. But they have a lot of good food there in Ghana.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
Yep. Now, the final week of the story of Mary Slessor. So, we know you've been waiting for this, and let's hear it.
Yeah. Last part of my favorite missionary story, but don't worry, we'll get another great missionary story to follow up with. So we ended our story last time where Mary had helped some of the villagers as they had gotten sick from the smallpox, and she was like one of the very few people who didn't get sick. And then the chief got really sick and he died and she had to bury him. And then after the people recovered, her body was just so worn down from taking care of people, she needed a rest. So she was going to head back to Scotland again for another rest, some time away. But before she left, she heard about another tribe. Do you remember? The Aros tribe? She heard about them and she started praying and thinking about them and wondered how God would be able to use that in her life. Well, she was able to go back to Calabar and get back to all of her kids and all of her ministry, but she was getting older. Her body was getting a little bit more run down. So she was sick a lot more often. She wasn't able to go out and do all the things that she had done in the past. We even hear stories of how she still had quite a few babies being brought to her house from that people didn't want, or twin babies that they thought would bring bad luck. But thankfully, there weren't quite as many children being brought to her because the love of Jesus was coming into the lives of the people, and they were realizing it wasn't a bad thing to have twins. But sometimes at night she would have a string tied to each one of the little babies. It looks kind of like they have little hammocks. And then she could rock them at night if they were sad or crying. And so even if she wasn't feeling well, she could at least kind of help the babies as she was relaxing and resting and spending a little bit more time in bed. Well, even in that time, she kept praying about the Aros people. She really wanted them to know the love of God. And she knew they were a very violent tribe and they did a lot of fighting. One time they started to get into so much fighting that the British Empire sent soldiers, a lot of soldiers, to come and talk to the people and to try to help them talk through their problems and figure out what they could do differently. And Mary kept praying about a chance to go visit and to go live with the Aros people. But because they're such a violent tribe, she knew if she went at the wrong time, she could get killed in the middle of all the fighting. So she kept praying for God's perfect timing. Well, these soldiers came and they spent time talking with the Aros people, and eventually the people gave over their weapons, their guns and their knives, and they said they would work on not fighting. Well, since they'd given up their weapons, this was a great chance for Mary to come in. She knew it would be much safer, and God kind of opened the door for her. Remember, she still served as part of the British leadership to help the people if they were having disagreements and stuff. So Mary got to move in and to start living with the Aros people. And so she got to bring all of her children with her, and they would go on trips, sometimes to other places in the jungle, a lot of times traveling by canoe. And for the most part, traveling by canoe is very relaxing. You could just sit in the water, sit in the canoe and hear the water lapping against the sides. But one time, it was not so relaxing. Because as they were riding along, something big came up out of the water with its mouth wide open, ready to take a bite out of the edge of Mary's canoe. Can you see the animal here? It's got a really big mouth, huge teeth. It's like something from the dinosaur age. It was a hippopotamus. Mary grabbed a bamboo pole and smacked it on the nose, and the hippopotamus crawled away and disappeared into the water. Whew. God was really looking out for them and protecting them, even from the animals sometimes, because the jungle is full of all sorts of stuff that you definitely don't want to have around. Well, Mary had quite the reputation. People knew her all around as a teacher, as a judge, as a protector, as a helper. So many people knew who she was, and she was able to help so many other people. And you know what? God gave Mary all sorts of special abilities to do things while she was on the mission field. One of the things that she did a lot was making cement. So she's got a bucket down here and a big long pole. And she would bring bags of dry cement with her in her suitcase back when she would come back from Scotland. Which would be so funny to people to look inside somebody's suitcase and see all of this dry cement. But she would bring it back and she would pour it in a bucket and she'd pour some water in and she'd start mixing and she would pray. She would ask God, please help the cement to set, help it to be just right. She didn't have special measurements or all sorts of fancy tools. She just mixed it up and God took care of the rest. God made it work out, and she said somehow every time it works out. God gives me just the right amount of everything that I need to make it work so that she could help with a lot of building projects and things that were going on in the area. Well, Mary's health kept getting worse, and she wasn't able to do as much walking. She could only walk 1 mile a day for a while, which that still sounds like a lot of walking. But she couldn't walk as much, she couldn't do as much talking, her body would get weak really fast. And so one of her oldest twins, do you remember Janie from earlier, kind of became like Mary's caretaker. And she helped take care of Mary. She got her a special chair so Janie could push Mary through the jungle, which would be a very bumpy ride, and help Mary get to whatever village she needed to go to and to the people she needed to talk to. And this way Mary was able to share God's love with the people in the Aros tribe and then people in all the other surrounding tribes nearby. She didn't do as much teaching because she was sick, but she did still try to make time to talk to people and to talk to her friends and to spend time helping them to know each other. She had to do lots of resting, and after a while she couldn't travel anymore, so then people would travel to her to hear wisdom from her or to talk to her or to tell her thank you for the ways that she had impacted them, and maybe she didn't even know it. Mary had been given so many great years of life in Africa, and God had given her so many opportunities to help people because she was willing and because she wasn't scared by things. She knew God was always in control. Well, one night Mary went to sleep, and on January 13th, 1915, she woke up in heaven. She wasn't on earth in Africa anymore, but she got promoted to heaven, and she got to live there where she is today. But there were so many people in Africa that were thankful for the ministry that she had. And you know what? Mary didn't have the easiest life as a little girl, right? Do you remember back at the beginning? You need to. You can go back and watch the first part of the story. She didn't have an easy life, and she chose to do some hard things, but she did them because she knew that the love of God should help her move forward and help other people, and she always looked for ways to do that. She looked for ways to help twin babies that nobody else wanted, and for ways to talk to people who were going to fight and cause problems. She put herself in a lot of dangerous situations because she loved and cared about people, and she wanted them to know her great Savior, Jesus Christ. And she's made an impact on people even today. There's stories that are still around in Africa. They say today Calabar is part of Nigeria in Africa, and that there's still some people or some tribes that still know about Jesus today because of Mary's work. And we're so thankful for people like Mary who understand the value of telling the good news of Jesus to people around you. And she did it right where she lived in Scotland, and then she got to do it again overseas in Africa. And you know what? You can be a missionary like Mary too. You can tell other people about God and how much He loves them, and that changes everything about how people view life. And it changed a lot for the people in Calabar too. So I hope you enjoyed our story about Mary Slessor and how she loved the people of Africa and how God used her. It's definitely one of my favorite stories.
Okay, with it being week 5, we are going to review missionaries and people that we've looked at from the last 4 weeks. Yep. Not all missionaries. Well, hopefully they all are where they're living. But they're just different people living in different places and serving God. And so we are going to take a look at those last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
We start in Pennsylvania with Alyssa's parents, David and Glorianne Levy. And as we mentioned, they are working with ABWE as missionaries with the Good Soil program. And so they go around helping churches better make disciples. and teaching pastors how to become better disciple makers and better pastors.
So the month of September is really going to get busy for them as they get ready to travel again. God has opened lots of doors for churches and places for them to be able to share their ministry. So we can continue to pray for them as they travel, lots of safety on the road, and that they would make lots of good connections and encourage people to share their faith with people that they know.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have Eric and Ellen Locker, who are serving God in Alaska. And here's that picture of them. I believe they have already started their camping season. It was 3 weeks ago that we talked about them, and so they should already be right in the middle of that. And the prayer requests there are that they would continue to be healthy, that the coronavirus would not keep anyone on staff from working or anyone who's camping there from being able to go for a week. And so pray for health for them, but also more importantly that people's lives would be changed. The staff, the campers, and the lockers, that God would use this summer to help people come to a better knowledge of Himself.
Yep. Then we also talked about David and Kristi Flinck from Chile, or missionaries to Chile, but they're back in the States on furlough right now. So they've asked for prayer for safety, and then transitions for their kids. The two oldest boys will both be at Faith Baptist Bible College this fall, and they even they reminded us too that it's always good to ask families about what life is like for their kids, because it's tough to make that transition from being overseas to coming back stateside, to going to all these churches and everything. But it's always good to hear what God is doing around the world. So we'll be praying for them as they travel and share their ministry updates.
Yep. And some of you may see them this year. They may be coming to a church near you. And finally, Paul and Jamie Schmidt, our sister and brother-in-law, and they could not go to Brazil this summer like they were planning to. They should have been there this week for the music camp, which unfortunately they could not go to because of the pandemic. And so pray for them as they make plans to go next year, that they would have the finances they need to be able to cover all their expenses, but also that they would be a blessing to the missionaries and the people who they work with, and also that God would give them direction as they look into the possibility of perhaps having a role in the way ministry is done down there in the future. As Paul and Jamie mentioned last week, they're going on a survey trip, which means they will be looking at different parts of the country, which some of them don't have any type of ministry going on there right now, and possibly need more people to come and help train leaders and make disciples in Brazil. Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching today. Hopefully you found our new item hiding around here somewhere.
Yeah. You guys found the Jerusalem bag that was hanging up last week. And this week my two youngest brothers were with us, and so they kind of helped us out with making sure we had something for you guys to find this week.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you put your comments below, maybe what food looked really good to you, or something else you've had somewhere that was super tasty.
Yeah.
Or some other place you think we should go, or something you think we should talk about. And make sure you give us a like, share with your friends, and watch us next time.
Yep. We'll see you then.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.